we finished up in Montreal, where home country hero Lance Stroll made a miraculous return. While the entire F1 community was thrilled at the last minute change for Lance, the Groundhog community was in terror as they believed that he was the most likely candidate on the grid to run them over. To our surprise, it was animal lover Lewis Hamilton who took a life, while Lando Norris almost took out the entire lives of the McLaren team and the McLaren fans. It's lights out and away we go for episode 180 of the NFL podcast. Ian, this is the first time in a while that you're not going to be the happiest one in the room. I'm not very happy either, but at least I'm not the only sad one.
I'm just positivity, plur, peace, love, unity, respect. I'm just happy for Mercedes. That's
Uh-huh.
what I am. I'm not letting anything else get in my way. I know exactly, you have to open your heart to positivity. So I'm happy for Mercedes. But also really, really, really mad at McLaren. I'll get to that. I'll get to that later.
Yeah, that was quite. I mean, I feel like everyone said throughout this year, it's like this is bound to happen at one point. Personally, like not because of you, just I like chaos outside of my team. I hope it's not the only time. I hope we kind of see a couple more run-ins to the boys. But yeah, very entertaining last four laps that really sparked up a lot of discussion topics. So thank you to Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri for that. Starting this episode, we have our hot lap recap, our TikTok takes, who ate and who ate asphalt, our, and then we're going to do our country fun facts. I don't know if you guys, to all of our listeners that didn't actually or who paid attention, we did not have an episode that went out on the Grand Preview because we put it on our new Patreon. So we were trying something out a little bit. So if you wanted to pay for it and want to listen to it, very good in-depth analysis for the people that are paying for free, scam artists. You didn't get to listen to it. So we're going to go and cover our country fun facts of Canada for the people that did not listen to the Patreon.
Wonderful. All right.
Start.
Well, let's get right into it, Marco, with your hot lap recap.
Okay, our hot lap recap is as follows. Qualls, Albon engine cover, randomly exploding in Q1 was quite the sight to see. I watched that video probably 17 times trying to see what happened. I didn't get it. I think just someone hit a little bomb and it exploded, which was pretty cool. It was able to come back and actually fix it, which kind of also blew my mind. Speaking of the Williams driver, Sainz had an unfortunate run-in with Hadjar in his final lap, ruining his lap and knocking him out of Q1. Hadjar had a similar run-in with Charles in Q3, so that guy's got to stop doing that. Yuki finished, moving on to Q2, Yuki finished P11, but ends up at the back of the grid with a 10-place grid penalty for passing on a red flag in free practice. I think that's pretty excessive given it was free practice and some of the other penalties that we've been getting that aren't as extensive, but who am I to say? And then we move on to Q3. Q3 was quite a bit of surprise with Team McLaren finishing P3 and P7, with Mr. Saturday ending his bad streak on quals with the P1 for the first time this season. George had a very George response during the post-race interview, hinting at Max's penalty point situation. So like that relationship continues to falter. That relationship continues to just draw bad blood. Moving on to Sunday, George was able to hold off Max at the start while Oscar Piastri got passed by Kimi Antonelli. This was quite the driver versus engineer race where like no one really could agree on what the best strategy was with the tire to use and for how long. You hear a lot of drivers being like Alex Albon, Charles Leclerc, why aren't you listening to me? This is the right way. And then the engineer's like, you're wrong, move on. Stroll had a downer of a home race with a 10-second penalty for forcing Gasly off the track. So I know most people, along with myself, thought this was potentially a podium finish for the young man. It wasn't. Then, about 8 laps ago, kind of the middle of the race, not a lot going on, but with 8 laps to go, the McLaren boys were going at it. Lando's engineer was telling them to attack Piastri while he didn't have DRS. Then, with 4 laps to go, Lando makes a pass. Piastri gets back the place back, and then poor Lando collides with Piastri, trying to make an impossible gap. George holds off for the win with a safety car with a two Mercedes podium finish. Kimi being the third youngest driver to make podium, alongside future Hall of Famers Max Verstappen and Lance Stroll. And that does it for our hot lap recap. All right, so we did our hot lap recap. Let's get to the juicy part of it, though. TikTok takes, Ian. What is your take? Is it hot?
It's hot and it's going to be not well received, but that's why we do this. We're trying to rile up the people. My TikTok take is the result of the Canadian Grand Prix, specifically as it relates to the McLaren result, was not Lando Norris's fault. What do I mean? Lando Norris, all right, once again, tested the faithfulness of his fan base by making an error hard to defend. Was it silly? Yes. Inconsequential? Yes. Did it matter really in the grand scheme of things who finished P4 in the Canadian Grand Prix? Probably not. But am I mad at Lando Norris for trying to overtake his teammate in a race? 4 laps left. No, I'm not mad at him, right? He lied. The fault lies with one person, and that's Lando's race engineer. 14 laps into a 70 lap race, the engineer comes over the radio and says, "Hey, we need one of those amazing races from you here." It's like, hey man, he knows he's starting P7. He knows he can't have just a, bad race and end up on the podium there. So he already basically was getting a lot of pressure put on him. This is a guy that doesn't deal well with pressure right now, right? His knees are kind of buckling under all this pressure. And then 4 laps before he made that move, his engineer came over saying like, "Hey, you can attack him here while he doesn't have DRS." It's like, "Hey, stop driving the car if you're not driving the car. You're just trying to put too much in his head." So anyway, in summation, not Lando's fault. Fire the engineer. Move on to the next race. P1 in the constructors.
Uh, could nothing I could have found that I like could relate to, but I'm not a McLaren fan, so maybe it's like a different mentality. You're in first, you got the 1-2 drivers and the drivers championship. Maybe it's like a different mentality that I
Yep.
have no idea. That has to be it because outside of that, you sound ridiculous.
All right.
Uh,
That's good. Job done.
all right, great TikTok take. That was hot. Um, that was really hot. That was something. All right, let's move on to who ate and who ate asphalt. Let's start off with who ate. Let's start off with who ate. Yeah, I like this. Mercedes, George and Kimmy finishing 1 and 3, like I said earlier, and one McLaren in the points. Just not something that many had on their bingo card. I don't think. The big weekend moved Mercedes back up to P2 in the standings, and Red Bull is only 21 points behind Ferrari. So huge weekend for them. I mean, honestly, almost perfect. So who would have thought? This would have
Yeah.
been a McLaren finish looking 1 and 3, like dang, Max Verstappen. 1 and 3 with Max Verstappen in the middle. Who's that team? Like, who's that Pokemon? Everyone would have guessed McLaren. It was Mercedes.
Yeah. It's really just Max Verstappen that's in P3 of the Constructors' Championship at this point. Uh, you know, I think what does Yuki Tsunoda have in terms of points? I think he's at like 10 points, and a lot of those were from Racing Bulls. So, yeah, Max Verstappen is creeping up on Ferrari. But Mercedes, what a weekend. They deserved that one. They were quick. They put together a good strategy, cool, calm, collected. Kimi Antonelli on that first lap, making his pass and getting into P3, passing the leader of the drivers' championship. That was good for them. That was good to see.
Yeah, talking about, I saw the stat. I don't think that this is really like that crazy of a stat. If you take away Max Verstappen from Red Bull, they're in dead last in the constructors. I would assume that like you would think, hey, their car is good enough where that second driver isn't in last place. But it's all, you're comparing one driver to every other team has two. You would think better driver, they could do better.
Yeah, last place is tough.
Last place is tough. I would hope to see it, a P9 or a P8, but yeah, that's not ideal.
Yeah.
Other who ate, Fernando Alonso, great weekend for the Spaniard. P6 in quals, P7 on Sunday, scoring in back-to-back weeks after starting the year pointless after 8 races. So, you know, old man takes a little bit. Maybe you need to stretch a little bit, open up the legs a little bit, open up the mind. Back-to-back races on points. So good for him. Sure, it's going to continue.
Yeah, definitely positive it's going to continue. It's
It's
not just
got to
gonna be,
continue that too. It's a
there's
rocket shift. He's trying to.
there's no way that goes anywhere but up from here. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're
So what
fine.
what did he finish? So he finished ninth last go around in
Mm-hmm.
Spain. Now he finished seventh. If you go by that logic, fifth next week, third the
Mm-hmm.
following week, and then he wins his first race in
In
five.
like 11 years. All right, my last eight. Similar guy, another nice couple of weeks from Nico Hulkenberg, where he finished P5 in Spain, P8 in Canada. Sauber is now just 8 points out of P6 in the constructors. So again, compared to what we saw of them, this team last year, substantial difference. It seems to be all coming from one driver. So I said it was crazy to compare one driver to others with the Red Bull situation. Maybe I'm wrong on that because Nico Hulkenberg is doing the one driver, put the team on his back as well with Sauber.
Yeah. Bortoletta's got to score some points. He's the only guy on the grid that hasn't had any points. We have Jack Doohan and Franco Colapinto are the only other two, but he's the only one that's been in the whole time. Let's score some points. Your teammate is what is he now in the drivers championship? Like
P11 maybe.
11th. Yeah.
Yeah.
Score some points. Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was potentially with the P12 in quals, and then he's getting there. He's chipping away.
He knows what he's doing.
You attack Saturday, you get better with Saturday, then you look at Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
Any fellows, teams, people that ate that I missed?
Not teams or people, but the first lap, I think ate. I think it gave us a good, nice, it was just exciting. Max lining up, like pointing at George. I thought that was electric. What a way to get the arm hair standing up. Kimi overtaking Oscar, we talked about. Colapinto and Albon having a little scrum. Hulkenberg pulling off that double overtake because of it. Just like bravo, well done, Canada. The rest of the race I thought was like good. It wasn't like anything to crazy ride home about, but that first lap got me going enough. It was like that's enough. If everybody stays in their exact spot and ends the race, like that was exciting enough by itself. Unfortunately, Lando had to go screw it up for the entire.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were probably like, that's enough. Seriously, that's enough.
I was like, hey, I don't know if you heard me. I said enough.
No more crazy stuff going on here.
I said, everybody just stay in the place that they are right now and don't screw up a lot of
your. All right, nice. Who ate Asphalt? Obviously, I think we'll go quickly. Lando, foolish move, had everyone scratching their head on what he thought he saw making a move on Oscar.
Lando's race engineer.
Yeah, Lando's race engineer forcing him with a in his head, saying, "You better pass Oscar now." So shame on him. Blank on his head, blank in his forehead, double barreled blank to his forehead. All right. You talked about this, Alex Albon starting the race off, just bouncing on the grass was one thing. The race seemed to have like this I said, a lot of the drivers where they're just battling their engineers. And he looked like, I thought he was going to break down. Honestly, he was like crying when he was on the radio saying how the team never listens to him. And they're like, all right, we can do it. And he's like, it's too late for that. This doesn't make sense anymore. So I think he was already just in a pretty bad headspace. And then top it all off, he had a power unit issue that made him retire. So mentally and physically draining Canada weekend for old Alex Albon.
I think it's not the worst thing that he had that failure, because it's just like, when they look back on it, they'll be like, oh yeah, that was the failure. That wasn't when he looked like there was a chance that he was going to end up like P19 basically based off of like where he was headed, and he was pretty mad about it. So luckily for them, they just can look back and be like, yeah, DNF, that was a failure.
Yeah, it could have been. Who knows what could happen. My last Who Ate Asphalt is going to be Liam Lawson, called P19. His worst qualifying since China when he was at Red Bull, so week 2. On top of that, he started from the pit lane after changing his power unit and got a 50-place grid penalty because of it. I do find this crazy entertaining that they they have those numbers for grid penalty. It just seems completely unnecessary. They're like, I want some where it's like, if you pass that, you go 4 power unit changes, 1,000 grid penalty drop.
Like, yeah, what do you think is the biggest penalty that they'll give out? Like, if you go to like the FIA president and like punch him in the face, do you think you can get like a 1 million grid penalty?
Yeah, I don't know, but I that's the largest I've heard. I know we've heard 50 before, but like, I want them to extend this.
Yeah,
there's no reason for it whatsoever. It makes absolutely no sense. But I liked seeing a big number, being like, holy God, do you see 50 places?
I wanted them to get even like more creative with it and be like, you have a bajillion race grid penalty,
Yeah. I also would like, so typically races, they mark off 20. And on special occasions where they do have to say like 50 grid penalties, they mark off 50 grid boxes back on the starting position. So he's
Oh,
starting like two turns into going into the lap, and that's where he has to start.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
And
we're gonna
then
really call that number, let's make that number count.
if it's 1,000 place grid penalty, you start halfway back on the track. You got a lot of spots to make up.
Yeah, no, you're starting on lap -4.
Uh,
All right.
yeah,
Any
I don't have
nothing?
any other people who ate asphalt. Alex Albon was the big one. His radio message was so funny. He's like, I don't really know why you don't listen to me. It really
Uh,
annoys me. It's like he's being like polite about it, you know.
yeah. Oh yeah.
He's not like going off. Like I feel like Max Verstappen would start like cursing the race engineer's family or something like that. But yeah, Alex Albon was like, hey guys, like I don't really know what else to do here. Like just rational talk from a guy who is at his absolute last limb.
Yeah, that was some sad boy energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That does it for our Who Ate and Who Ate Asphalt. Let's move on to our country fun facts. But before we get there,
EA News reports a fake ad incoming.
this part of the podcast is brought to you by 1 800 Contacts. 1 800 Contacts has been a lifesaver for over 60 years, helping people with seeing disabilities turn their lives around. Whether you're young or old, reading a book or driving a multi-million-dollar race car, we are here to make you do the impossible. See what's directly in front of you. Little Timmy said he couldn't tell what color crayons he had, so he kept coloring his giraffes pink. Angus said he kept turning up his air to 85 when he wanted it to 65, accidentally killing his pet ferret. Lando Norris said he thought he kept seeing a gap to pass his younger, superior teammate, only to ruin his race and almost ruin the race of his much younger, much more superior teammate. 1 800 Contact solves all these problems, but act fast before your amazing, much, much, much younger, much, much, much more superior teammate really runs away with the championship. 1 800 Contacts.
Lando Norris, race engineer, is the one at fault.
That's a little like everything he said with 1 800 Contacts is due to the race engineer's fault.
Side effects may include having a really bad race engineer that completely screws up your race, even though you're just working really hard and no one understands how hard it is to be an F1 driver.
You did nothing wrong. It was all that one guy. You're getting all the blame. That's bullshit. .com.
All right, country fun facts. I'll start off first. All right, I have three. First one is apology. The second one is hot dogs. And the third one is igloos. So first one is apology. In Ontario, saying sorry during an accident or altercation legally does not count as an admission of guilt. Canadians were apologizing so reflexively that lawmakers had to clarify that in court. Hot dogs. There are hot dog limitations in Calgary. Due to what were seen as both environmental and public health reasons, there was a law made in 1994 restricting hot dog consumption to one hot dog per day for Calgary residents. While it was mostly acknowledged by lawmakers to be more symbolic than enforceable, there were real concerns about the quality of meat in hot dogs. And then number three, we have igloos. In Nunavik, part of the Northwest Territories, temperatures get so low that there's an entire indoor community complex called the Igloo Church that includes shops, a pool, and schools. You can live without ever stepping foot outside. Apologies, hot dogs, igloos.
I'm going to go with stereotypes heavy sorries.
Sorry is true. There is in Ontario a legal distinction between saying sorry and admitting guilt.
I'm going to go with hot dogs.
Hot dogs is made up. Made that up. Got you
Doesn't
again.
really feel good, but I didn't come in dead last. All right, nice. All right, my turn. I have red light district, taverns, and hockey. Red light district during 1925 and the early 1960s, when Montreal had a red light district, all streets that crossed the Pine Avenue near Boulevard St. Laurent go to the same direction. It was moved that way so men were able to circle the neighborhood to find prostitutes. Taverns. Prior to 1986, women were banned from taverns in Montreal. After being unbanned, you would see signs in the window of all taverns saying, Bienvenue aux dames, or Welcome Ladies, 1986. True. Hockey. The size of all regulation hockey rinks are based off of the distance between two streets in Montreal, Drummond and Stanley. So we have red light district, taverns, hockey.
I think before you said hockey, you said true. So I'm gonna say that hockey is a true one. And then red light district sounds normal. So I'm gonna go with tavern.
Wrong.
Okay. Is it red light district?
It is. Dang, I said I
Okay.
gave you the answer. And you
You
still got
said,
it wrong. You had a 50-50 chance. You
I
idiot.
know. Even worse. That's so
Mm,
funny. You're
That's a
like,
double X.
and
I didn't
and
even know
true.
that.
This I'm sure you had true written out capital letters. We're tired, folks. All right. We're
I
tired.
can't read well.
All right, I think that's good enough. Good Kaya, good first episode for Kaya here, our new production intern. And yeah, I think that's everything. Luckily, we have a way to recover from this and have a better second go around for Kaya when we look forward to the Marco
Across the pond, Austria.
Austrian Grand Prix across the pond in Austria. That's true. Canada and Austria, they're kind of like
Yeah. I will like to say to you, disclosure, listeners, if you're still listening, you don't have to. Uh, the people on the Patreon listen to this, pretty bad on my gambling this week. 0 for 3. Good thing that we didn't put it on our free section because that would have been really hurting my record.
I actually went positive, believe it or not. I had Antonelli top 6 and I had Yuki top 10. Yuki top 10 was minus 105. Antonelli was plus 135. So I would have made a tiny little bit of money. Doesn't count. You got lucky. This was all collusion by Marco, but for not recording. But we'll get back at it next week for the Austrian Grand Prix. Thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you on the other side for the Austrian Grand Preview.
Yes.
See you assholes.